Honors physics. This is one of the most challenging topics in electrostatics. And this is called a two-dimensional Coulomb's law problem. Why is it two-dimensional? Well, all of the problems we've had so far have been three charges in a line, Q1, Q2, 3. And now we have Q1, Q2, and Q3 in a right triangle with each other. So what I have going on here is we have to examine the interactions. And notice on number 8 on this page, um, I've changed the problem. I'm going to make the first one easier and then the second one a bit more challenging. So let's take a look. So Q2 is in this bottom left corner. It's a positive charge, right? Positive charge. The sign matters most right now. So what we need to do, according to the law of superposition or the principle of superposition, which sounds so much grander than it really is I can't show this with a stylus and a recording device, but just pretend Q3 is not there. And what we realize then pretty quickly is that if you just look at Q1 and Q2, a -8, a +3, those two are going to attract each other. There's a small attraction, it's mutual. But what we've done is we've now identified that we have force one pulling on force two, and it's pulling it upward. So let's transfer that over here. This is Q2 now. And what we've said, I'm going to use red, that we've identified this little force here is force one pulling two. Now what we do is cover Q1. Use your thumb, use your hand, and cover Q1, pretend it's not there. And now we're examining what influence does Q3 have on Q2? Well, those are both positive, so they repel each other. So let me grab a contrasting color and show it over here. Now, there's a disadvantage to showing it over here in the picture because now I've written all over everything. But what we can do is we can draw it neater. I'm just taking F1, 2, putting it up here, and then the blue one, this is force 3, comma 2. And those are the only forces acting on Q2. Sounds like a very reasonable task. So what we're going to do is we're going to find each force. We're going to go calculate it using Coulomb's law. And then we're going to have to remember how to add vectors. And maybe you remember exactly how. Maybe you're rusty. Let's do it now. So let's start with force 1 pulling 2. So K, Q1, Q2. And the distance between them is known. Let's plug in our values. 9 times 10 to the ninth, 8 times 10 to the -6th. Notice I'm using absolute value for my charges. And then what do we have for Q2? I kind of wrote on it, which is a little inconvenient. It's 3. So it's 3 times 10 to the -6th all over a distance. What's the set distance of separation? 0.06 meters squared. I'm going to hit pause and do that calculation. If you hit pause as well to earn that number, you're going to find out that that is a 60 Newton force. Now, let's kind of acknowledge that it has a direction, right? That's not the final answer, but 60 newtons is straight up. I'm going to circle that. It's not a final answer. It's just one of our stepping stones. We've done step 1. Now let's go, and I like color coding. Now let's go to force 3, 2. And I had a really bright student tell me, oh, you can change the subscripts of the two charges so it matches the problem. And I said, yeah, absolutely. Let's do that. Let's, instead of calling this 1 and 2, let's call it 3 and 2, because those are the ones we're going to use. Okay, Q3 is 7 times 10 to the -6th. I got that from over there. My Q2 is 3 times 10 to the -6th. And the distance between those is 0.06. So this happens to be not an equilateral, but a isosceles triangle, right? The two sides are the same, the two legs. So there we have, I think that's the right vocab word. Excuse my math rustiness. Okay, I'm going to hit pause. You hit pause and calculate that in. I got 52.5 newtons. Okay, what's the direction of that vector? Well, if you look back at the free body diagram, that we did all the hard work on directions at the beginning. So now we just know our directions. So why in the world would we have all of this space below? Because didn't on our previous problems, all we did was figure out who's positive, who's negative, and then add them. But what I hope you remember, I'm going to drag everything, is that when you have vectors at 90 degrees, you are not doing arithmetic with them. You're not adding them in the true sense, not arithmetic adding. Instead, what you have to do is you have to add them with their direction. So F1 comma 2 connected head to tail with force 3, 2. That means it's a vector, right? And head to tail is the correct method. So the resultant force goes from the tail of the first vector to the head of the last vector. This is the vector sum. This is the net force. Net force. So how would I go about finding that? Well, that is the hypotenuse of a right triangle. So my net force or my total force is, and I'm going to try to be strict with my colors, it's F32 quantity squared plus F1, 2 quantity squared, and then put the whole thing under a radical. So let's plug in. 1, 2 is 60 newtons. 3, 2 is 52.5 newtons. We're going to square both of those. We're going to add them together. We're going to take the square root of it all. And then we'll be almost done. So let me go ahead and do that as quickly as possible. 52.5 squared plus 60 squared equals square root 79.7 newtons. Oops, it erased. And that is not quite done. Look at the very top of this problem. We need to find the direction. What would be the direction of this angle in this right triangle? Well, that would be a beta triangle. And beta would be inverse tan of the blue divided by the red, or 3, 2 over 1, 2. So 52.5 newtons divided by 60 newtons. And hit pause if you'd like. I'm going to do that pretty fast. 52.5 over 60, inverse tan, 41 degrees. Now, that 41 degrees is a perfectly valid answer as long as you remember that that is not a theta angle. The theta angle would be 90 plus it, or what is that? 131 degrees. So that becomes a theta angle. So we are pulling together old vector addition with Coulomb's law, and it doesn't seem maybe totally impossible, but it's pretty challenging.